Hey everybody, it's time for a piece of a week in Wargaming. My Saturday morning chat show that typically takes place on a Sunday. And we are live for 11/26/22 here on YouTube to talk to you guys about all things Wargaming. So this is the Sunday morning extra Q&A show that I do, where I talk about what I've been doing, what's going on, and what's coming up. So this week has been a busy week. I started off the week by finishing off a whole bunch of painting for the new tutorial for the Battle of Osgiliath 2-player starter set for the Middle Earth strategy battle game for Lord of the Rings. And that was kind of made possible by being able to focus on one thing, because I've kind of directed some of that crazy infinity energy that I've had and put it into a podcast. I said something a couple weeks ago to you guys that was, I think it made something like solidify in my head. And it was that when I get distracted by being too in love with one game, with sort of like hyper fixating on something, it makes everything else harder to do because I just want to do that one thing. So I needed some kind of outlet for this like creative energy that I have, and I discovered that the good outlet was going to be to do a podcast. I was hanging out with Owen and Dan, and we wanted to make something together, and this was something we could do sort of like remotely from each other at a distance. And so I've started the Tactical Awareness podcast, and I basically spent the bulk of this week from Wednesday on figuring out podcasting. I had a podcast before called Let's Talk, but it wasn't really a podcast. It was just a transcription of this type of show called Let's Talk that I put into like SoundCloud and hosted as a podcast. And it wasn't my favorite, I'll be honest. It wasn't like my favorite thing that I've made, and I kind of like died off doing it. It also like cost me a bunch to host on SoundCloud, and podcasting's changed a bunch since then. So when I kind of trickled off doing it and started doing this show again, this kind of still fills that niche, and I feel like this is just better as it's better as a format for like a Q&A show. I liked having guests in and interviewing them and like talking to them. It was super fun. I tried it. I don't think it's the right format for me. I think doing questions and answers and interacting with you guys more is a better outlet for that. So this feels like it's a good replacement for Let's Talk. It gives you guys access to like my brain and asking me questions, and gives me access to your brains and what you're thinking and what you like and what you don't like. And I think that's how I'll get better at doing what I do. And so I wanted to find a creative outlet for all that crazy like Infinity and Mania energy I've had since ITS 14 came out. Since we were able to go to an event again, I went to a tournament, right? And I had a really good time. And since I realized I missed like that throwing a party, running event thing. So that's what we've come up with. We're going to do Tactical Awareness. We're coast to coast pretty much. Like they're all the way out in the prairies in Alberta. And I'm here in Southern Ontario. So we are not quite coast to coast, but we're like opposite ends of the country. And I think there's something valuable about that, because if we were in a fishbowl together, a lot of podcasts, it's like the same gaming group or the same group of people who are in like the same scenario together. You tend to like import your bias from your fishbowl. And I think it's going to be something valuable to the fact that we're way far apart community-wise, because we're going to be able to discuss the differences in what we see in those communities. And then the second half I think is really important is we're all really different kind of experientially right now. And what's neat about that is that with Owen being he played N3 to like the point of like mastery almost. Like he knew every rule, he knew all like the corner case interactions, he was really tight on it. But he's taken a year and a half off and does not have that with N4. He brings this really interesting perspective of like, that's not how that works. And I go, actually, that's not how this works now, where he's learning what he doesn't know, or what his like assumptions are. And then Dan, we literally bullied into playing the game like 2 weeks ago. I made him take home some O12 stuff and start playing, which means he brings this really kind of interesting handbrake to the first conversation we had, where Owen and I will almost start talking in code, which makes the podcast kind of only accessible to people who play a lot of Infinity. And then Dan stops us and goes, I don't really, how does that work? Like, I don't really understand how that works. Or does it work like this? And we get to like pump the brakes and go, oh, wait, hang on. No, actually it works like this. This is the way the rule is. This is the way the rule works. And I think there's something really valuable to that, right? Where I've been playing all the way through. Owen's taking this big break and is like learning kind of what he doesn't know. And Dan's like brand new. So I'm really excited about sort of like the mix of what we have going on too. And then the second half of that is I'm planning an event. And the event is going to be quarterly. I need to get back to doing my Warcore thing because I'm still a Warcore on paper. And there's a lot of events. Like if you click on just my country, Canada, and look at like how many events are happening for Infinity, there's just not that many. Like there's not a ton of events happening. And it's sort of... it's the thing I want to do because it's the thing I want to have happen. I want there to be more events to play in because I want to go to events too. So if I start running events, maybe other people start running events and the community will start going out to events and someone has to start the snowball rolling, right? Not that there haven't been events that have been running and there have been like in-store events and stuff happening too, but I wanted to do like an off-site, in like a hall, sort of like just an Infinity tournament, not in a gaming store event. And so I'm excited about that too. I love throwing a party, like I just do. I don't know. It's the like narcissism in me where I like being the center of attention probably, and I like I don't know, hosting and doing the the champagne glass in the air sort of BioShock sort of thing, where is it Great Expectations? No, it wasn't Great Expectations. The Great Gatsby, where he's got the champagne glass in the air. I like that, like planning stuff and like trying to get it just right, making sure everybody has a really good time. So I'm sourcing some sponsors and some people to help like make swag bags. So Epic Duck Mike is going to do some stuff. He's going to do like a special HVT model he's working on right now. It's very Canadian. Make it all Canadian themed. Mark out at Schooner Labs is super generous and he's going to donate some dice trays. So we have some like branded dice trays and stuff for the event too, and some will be for like prizes. And then I'm trying to get dice made. And you guys, if you're watching me on Facebook right now, the odyssey of trying to get dice made is like a microcosm of like our economic struggles right now worldwide and like what businesses are going through too. And I have to thank everybody that either mentioned somebody or reached out or like sent me the contact for somebody. And I've tried to ping as many people as I can just to get like feedback about the dice and like making dice. And I learned two things. One, D20s, because like you can get tons of custom D20s done, but it's a D20 because it's mostly used for D&D. So like you get like a dice engraved with like something funny or whatever, and you get it as a gift. And very oftentimes they're made like, they're like etched metal, like laser etched metal, or like something like super high end or super intensive. And so you're looking at like $60 to $70 a die, and I'm like, well, I like the people coming to my events. I don't like them that much. Like maybe for the year end one, we could do like a prize set of dice, you know what I mean, that are like that. But like, I'm not gonna get like a couple hundred dice here. Like I don't think we can do that. Or then like the other extreme end of that is like a contact by like a board game manufacturer in China, and they're like, well, for $250 we can cut the prototype mold for you, but you don't get the money back. Like if you don't like the mold design, then that sucks to be you. Like this is the mold we make for $250. It takes between 30 and like 40 days to do that. Then once you approve the prototype, it's like 50 days of production time. At 25 cents a die, and your minimum order is 1,000 dice. So you're looking at like, and it's all US dollars. So it's like $500 in US dollars, which the exchange with Canada is garbage with right now. And you're looking at like 3 months to get these dice. And I've got 2 months before the event, so I'm like, well, that's not going to work either. And then I had this incredibly kind, like small business owner contact me from the US and say, hey, so this is the, I can do orders at like 1,000 or 500. I have to make my own molds. I'm casting these in resin. I can do any Pantone color you want, like coloring the resin. Like really interactive. It wasn't like a form letter. He was super communicative, super nice. He's like, I'll give you for like, I think he's like, all in, it's going to be like $1.25 a die to get like 500 dice. So my choices are like twice as many dice and 3 months of time, right? And like then shipping to coming from China for 1,000 dice, or for the exact same price, half as many dice, probably, from the US. And so like my instinct first was to go to the US one. My instinct first was to try and find someone in Canada that makes them. I just can't. Like I've tried up and down. Sam's even trying. She's been Googling trying to find somebody in Canada because she's like, there must be somebody. But because it's a D20, not a D6, if I want a D6, this would be done tomorrow. But because it's D20s, it's like super hard to do. And so it's like it's a struggle. Like you start digging into this stuff and you realize that like, oh, this like question I'm asking myself right now, this thing I want to do, just like I wanted to have them be favors in the bags for people that came to the event. I was like, so it'd be about $1,000 all in, and you're looking at, you know, like 2 to 3 months of time, or three to 4 months of time if you go the cheap route and get lots of dice. And I'm like, what are you gonna do with 1,000 dice? What if this doesn't work? What are you like? Where are they gonna go? So it was neat. It was worth doing just to like kind of at like a distance and even on a tiny small amount understand what manufacturers are going through right now, sourcing and doing supply chain and like trying to get components made. Anyone who runs a Kickstarter is going through that for every component they produce, right? Like it's a really big struggle. So that's what I spent my week doing as far as like something new, and it was getting the podcast on. I taught myself, you know, podcasting. I basically downgraded the SoundCloud account because all the Let's Talk stuff can stay up there, but I'm not going to make any more of those, so I'm not going to pay $20 a month for it. And then I went with Anchor for the podcast host. If anyone's looking to start a podcast, Anchor was super easy to use. There doesn't seem to be any like limiting that you get access to Spotify's music on your podcast too, which is really cool. There's a bunch of like bonuses to go into Anchor. So if you're just doing like a gaming podcast or something, you want like an easy, cheap, free basically way of like doing your podcast, Anchor is highly recommended for someone who has no idea what they're doing. And then I taught myself some post-production, which was a whole other thing of trying to use my tools to do podcasting. So that was good though, because focusing on that, I had this outlet for it. I didn't not want to do anything else. I budgeted my time better, and so far so good. It hasn't become like a super mania. It's just given me and Owen and Dan a reason to hang out online Wednesday nights, which is great. And then the bonus is that we get to make something together too, and play and talk Infinity, and have like this great outlet for like what we're doing. So yeah, I've also actually become really more active on Discord because of it too, because I put together a Discord for it. So if you guys want to chat with me, go check out the GMG Discord or the Tactical Awareness Discord, because I've actually got the app on my phone again and I'm actually checking it. Like, I need something to pour my energy into, and this has been good for me so far. All right, so let's talk to the chat and see how everybody's doing and what's going on this weekend. Oh, sorry, I should say other things I did this weekend. I did a review of the new Forbidden Psalm like indie supplement. So if Forbidden Psalm is an indie game, war game based on Morkborg, then this is an indie campaign based on Forbidden Psalm. So it's like indieception. It's like indie inside indie. And it's called Regicide. It's super cool. It's basically like if you're playing D&D, it's a campaign pack. So it's a set of 12 narrative games set in a specific universe with specific like survival traits and stuff too. It actually reminds me a bit of like Last Days Seasons added on to Last Days, right? So if Forbidden Psalm is Last Days, it's a campaign set. Regicide is like what Seasons is, where it's a specific way to play through a linked set of games to like a specific result. So I'm really excited about that. I did a review of the 2 new supplements for Dungeon Bowl and Blood Bowl. So the 2022 Almanac for Blood Bowl, which was a compilation of all the Spike magazines. And then the new Dungeon Bowl, which is the Life and Death Colleges fight that Mike and I are prepping to play through. So we'll do some more Dungeon Bowl with the Colleges of Life and the Colleges of Death. So I get to do Death, which is good. I get to paint bad guys, which I'm excited about. And like it'll slowly start a College of Beasts team too, because I have the Werewolf now to go with my Yetis and my Ulfwarners for my Norse team. So that's gonna be fun. And what else did I review this week? I'm trying to remember. Oh, the new Warcry. Mike and I are working on that too. It's funny. Mike is to GW games what Chase is to indie games. Where Chase came in this week and played some Infinity and some Steel Rift with me, which was super fun. I got to play 2 games of my own miniature game, which was actually really, really fun. We played 2 back-to-back games. I took corporate forces, the Ares Mining and Salvage Corporation, or Mining and Security Corporation, and he took some freelancers, the Tainted Dragons. And we played through a couple games at 200 tons and 150 tons, and they were both really fun. They both were like were very engaging games. Orbital lasers were dropped, robots killed each other, and it was a lot of fun. And then we played a game of direct action Infinity as well afterwards. He brought his Nomads this time around, actually against my Aleph. And yeah, that was a good time too. So that was my week, pretty much. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's head, everybody. Crafting Troll says here, and he says he is sculpting some mega trolls while listening to this. What are mega trolls? And then Adrian Mahai Zamfarescu says, yay. Well, hi. Captain Fairite, I'm doing digital kish bashing for Turn 28. Cool. And then Proven 22, where did Ash at? I'm here. So I upgraded Wirecast today, and I actually started the stream and then didn't check YouTube to make sure it was going. And I did like a 9-minute stream and then went to YouTube and it hadn't started yet. So I stopped it and started again, and now it's actually started streaming. It's just, I don't know. Whenever I update Wirecast, it starts to act fucky. I'm not sure why. Inquisitor Savac says, who's up for a piece of ash? Not me. Volcano says hello. Dan Fox says, I'm not upset a piece of ash isn't the title of the show, but I wouldn't be if it were. Well, now it's a Saturday morning chat show on Sundays. That's my new thing. Caldorf's here. Brian Sheen's here. I've been really liking your how to plays on Battle of Osgiliath. I've been looking into a non-AOS fantasy game that has an epic feeling, and the action that's really hits it. It's a lot of fun, and also too, like, the miniatures are so timeless, right? Because it's funny, the Middle Earth games for Lord of the Rings, I think, are kind of protected by nature of not belonging to Games Workshop, right? They've written these games, they have to stay inside the lines on the universe and the miniatures and the look of everything, and so I'll be honest, some creators are at their best. I'm not. But when given a specific list of parameters to create inside of, and I think Games Workshop's one of them, they do a really good job of making something that's very specific to task, right? So, like, as soon as Kill Team wasn't just light 40k and use the 40k stat line, all of this, like, opportunity opened up. And I feel like that's why I've enjoyed the new Kill Team so much, is it's a brand new, very, like, self-contained in its own silo of rules experience, and I feel like Lord of the Rings is that same sort of mechanic. And it's kind of like the BattleTech of the Games Workshop miniature catalog, because it hasn't changed since it's come out, really. Like, core mechanically, I think Alessio wrote it originally, and it just hasn't changed. It's just the same. It's the same core mechanically as it was when the first Fellowship box came out, right? That sort of like risk-driven, easy to pick up but hard to master application of force. Lee W says he's here, and he's from Poole in the UK. Cool. Waiting patiently for GW to see if they make sense and release Night Wars as a paid PDF. That'd be cool if they did. Who else is here? People were just chatting with themselves while they were waiting for me to come on, I think. Going down further. There we go. Pixel Trash is here. Nershcast is here. The intro is so loud. Yeah, it is super loud. I need to turn that down. I think I had it cranked still because I was trying to make sure my mic was loud enough, and it needs to be lower and the mic needed to be higher, and I was trying everything desperately to make sure that that something was correct at that point. I will turn that down now, actually, and then save that. Inquisitor Savac says, I miss Owen and Clarence. Yeah, Clarence is tied up by the fact that he is a teacher, and so when we're not in the summer, he doesn't really have the opportunity to come in. He's also started organizing too. He's really, really passionate about organizing a Song of Ice and Fire events. And he actually organized one. I wasn't able to go to it because I had the kids, but the weekend was, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, or it might be coming up. But there's a Song of Ice and Fire tournament happening at the Mini Wargaming Bunker that he organized. Which I think is cool. And then Owen, of course, you saw just briefly because he's out in Calgary, right? He's literally on the other side of the continent from me, so I don't get to hang out with him weekly like I used to, right? He's the guy I played every week for 7 years. Nick Denny's here and says, hey, party people. Proven's here and says, I've always liked Infinity. And then Dan Fox says, run the event you'd want to go to. Absolutely. That is the absolute key, I think, to running a good party, or even just throwing a good party. Like, anytime you throw a party, if it's the party you would want to go to, then you're on the right track. I made coffee and then forgot I made coffee. Caldor says, I miss gaming parties, and supply chains are rough. Yeah, I mean, it's a problem everywhere. And I think, honestly, everyone should try being the manufacturer in their head for a minute and thinking about that stuff, and they're listening to the news, or they're listening to almost anything, or they're just upset about paying more for food, gas, whatever it is. Like, everything's rough right now, and I think it just gives you more empathy. And even just from like a selfish point of view, empathizing with how hard it is makes you feel less angry. And so for me, it like deflates my like, yes, these are my problems, and I can't, my dollar doesn't go as far as it used to, but at the same time, if I understand that, my own like simmering rage gets pushed down a little bit. So even from just like a selfish point of view, if you want to make yourself feel better, yeah, shit sucks, and you sometimes just have to suck the fact that shit sucks for everybody up. Proven says, give those nifty rulers. They're cheap. I don't know. Yeah, I do have some plans for that. I want to try and get some measuring gauges made too. Mythic Game says, if you tried to get the dice 3D printed resolution, I have thought about that, and you can get clear 3D resin. The problem's going to be that like you want the inlays done. You have to probably hand paint them. They wouldn't necessarily be balanced. There can be issues with, because it's solid, right? It's like a solid standard size D20. You have issues with like curing and stuff like that too. I want to support some businesses. Like I want to be able to like say at the event, here's who made the dice. If you ever need dice made yourself, go check these people. They were great. Like part of what I want to do when I do these things is be able to like show what's possible. You know, like if you're excited about a game, anyone could do this. Anyone could do what I'm doing. I have no special powers. It's just me calling around to a hall until I find one that's a reasonable price and has what I'm looking for. It has a bar. You get a bartender. Like, you know, like making food, like thinking about what I want to bring, making table toppers, right? Because the place I'm hosting has round tables, not square tables. So I'm going to make some MDF table toppers to put on them. I'm going to buy some, like I'm investing my money in this. This better work. But I'm going to buy some like tablecloths to pretty them up. I want to get the dice like trays made for the event and then have some to give away as prizes. Like it's thinking like, well, what could I do? How could I make it look nice? What are the details? And then once you have a lot of that done, you can repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Like the first one's where you kind of have to do the big legwork, and then it's like, well, what can I add now? What would make it cooler next time? What's going to make it neat? Sid says, how about alt art cards for classified objectives? You can do the entire 50 card deck for pretty cheap, and I did the same for Warzone. Yeah, they're changing the deck, though. That's the reason why I'm doing a direct action event for this event, too, because they've already said that this is the last season for the HVT decks. So I want to do something that's, like, useful. You know what I mean? That's why doing, like, an HVT or you know, some fun, like, Canadian-themed shit for HVTs or whatever markers. You know, you could use them as your... you could use them as... I think Mike's planning on doing, like, a raccoon in a trash can as the HVT, because that's pretty Toronto. The Toronto Trash Pandas, and then as opposed to Trash Pandas, or like Sentry Bot turrets is the one that I got from the last ITS I went to in Hamilton. They 3D printed some of those little Sentry turrets. So just stuff like that, stuff that's useful probably forever because it's been the last 2 seasons of ITS. Whereas if they're rolling out the HVT deck, I probably wouldn't do those yet. Ralph Sheman, I think. Hey Ash, I love your channel. Painting an Aleph Marut for Infinity right now here in Germany. I used my Marut yesterday actually, and it was great. I loved it. Frozen Throg says, hey. Big Iron says, hey. From the town of Awafria. Jake says, doing fabulous, Ash. I love your channel. Would love to see your game as movie posters like Last Day of Steel Rift Gallows on Infinity Train billboards. That's super smart. Oh, that'd be cool. Billboards would be a cool giveaway too because they'd be super easy to make. Oh, that's not a bad idea. And it's terrain. Everybody likes terrain. That would be a cool like little like swag bag giveaway thing. If we did like themed posters. That'd be fun actually, yeah. Ooh, I'm gonna steal that. Oh, well actually I don't have to steal it, you gave it to me. I'm gonna just do a little screen grab of that comment and think about how I can make that happen. Daniel Brammer says, happy to catch it live. Sweet, I'm happy you're here. Brad Lever says, do you know what you're doing for trophies for your event yet? No, I don't think I'm going to do trophies because the ICS pack comes with that. And I actually got... This week, I got my 2 ICS packs. This is the current one. It comes with a bunch of prizes. You get the special Bixie, which is usually what the first place player takes. You get a cool bottle opener. You get a tournament. You get metal order tokens, which are cool because if you collect a bunch of them, you can eventually have a whole like order pool full of metal order tokens. I think it's rad. It's size 3 silhouette bases this time around, proxy bases, 40 mil bases. You get some supply box tokens, which are really cool because you actually the objective is a piece, and then like you pull. I'll show you. you pull the actual supply box off when you pull it out, and it goes next to the model, which I think is really cool. They drag it around, and you get Bixby too. The only problem is I ordered these locally, and they were $100 each. And then I looked online at the actual Corpus Valley web store and realized they would be $30 if I got them from there. I would have spent like $100, even having them shipped from Spain. I'm still glad I ordered these because I have them. I would be afraid I wouldn't have them in time for January for the event, but I'm just going to order. I have a worker discount anyway, so I should probably just order them from Spain next time and not spend $100 extra on these. So no regrets. But yeah, so I don't know if I'll do them this time around, but the thing I said earlier about maybe getting special D20s as like a trophy, that'd be cool. Like get some of those more expensive high-end custom D20s, which are very cool. But yeah, I can't do 1,000 at $60 each. that's madness. Also, there's a last place prize in there because you always get special dice, and the tradition usually with the ITS kits is the two special D20s. The person that came last place gets them because they need new dice, right? You get some cool new dice. What else we got in here? Big Iron says, I'm working on moss-covered custodies. Oh, you're doing like statues? I saw a, what's it called? I saw a Stormcast army like that once where they're all kind of done up like statues. I think there was one, what are they called? The Fire Slayers army that was kind of done like that too. They were all kind of like an obsidian, and the cracks were all glowing, and they had glowing eyes and stuff, and they covered them in moss. It was really cool. Fish Knickers says, Morning Ash, I bought you Don't Look Back box after watching your videos, and I've been pestering my parents for high school photos for some painting inspiration. Oh, that's an amazing idea. Yeah, some 1970s high school photos pictures for all of the like teens in that box. It is a great game. Don't Look Back, I think, is like a high point conceptually for a miniature game. Doing like a horror movie, like a slasher themed game. It's a really good translation of like some of those video game style games too. Like what's it called? The monster one. It's not Don't Look Back, but you're being hunted by one person plays the killer and everybody else plays people. It's basically it's basically a Half-Life mod. What was that? A Rival Species was the Half-Life mod where someone plays the aliens and someone plays the humans. Daniel Brown says, happy to catch this live. Thanks, I'm glad you're here. Brad Lever says, do you know what you're doing for Trophy? Sorry, I read that one already. I've scrolled back again. Tough, you're still waiting on Katie stands due to postal strikes. Oh, that sucks. That's so crap that the postal strike made you not get it. I hate when I'm excited about something and I pre-order it and then I walk into the store and they have it and mine hasn't shown up yet. I've had that happen twice in my life and I feel that feeling. It's a terrible feeling. Algebra King says, hi Ash, it's Mike from Halifax and Halcon. Thanks again for coming out to help judge our painting competition. Hope you make it an even bigger event for next year. I hope so too. I was pumped. It was really fun, and your entries were amazing. Like that was a really cool painting contest, and I'm excited for it. I'll paint something up. Well, no, if I judge again, I'll judge. But if I don't, then I'll paint something up. Frozen Throg says, I was finally able to pick up the Battletech box. There was much rejoicing. Yeah, I was pumped because there was like a bunch of talk that it wasn't going to come out all of a sudden. I can't remember where I saw that, but like there was a production issue or something with the Alpha Strike box. I'm definitely going to do a video of like my top 3 buy a gamer Christmas gift ideas, I think, for this year. Of like what, if it's a game they don't play, what are the 3 best, like just one box under the tree Christmas present games? And that Alpha Strike box is in there somewhere for sure. It's a great box. Dark Autumn Scribe says, hi Ash, good morning from not so sunny Florida. Well, good morning from not so sunny Southern Ontario. Remember it was snowing last time? Now it's like 10 degrees Celsius and raining, because that's Canada, baby. If you don't like Southern Ontario's weather, just wait 5 minutes. It'll be different. Greg's here. He says, I leased a new CX-50 in early October. Sometime in January, I may finally get to drive it. Don't talk to me about the state of the supply line. Yep, that's fair. I used to live in Toronto where you could walk everywhere. Remember, you made that choice. You moved to the sticks. Waffles Enjoyer says, is it true that Battletech has no factions and you just take any mech you feel like? No. Battletech is a historical game. There are many, many mind-meltingly numbers of factions in many different years, in many different places, in many different planets, in many different theaters. And they all have like a parsed list of like what's available to them. So if you go to the website Master Unit List for Battletech, you'll be able to see a huge window of both factions and years, like eras, and that'll tell you what you have available from there. But, and this is the caveat, because this is what I did in the beginning with Owen, you could just not give a shit either and just put whatever you want. So, while yes, there are tons of ways of like tailoring in your specific like load of battle mechs in BattleTech, you could also just not give a shit and play however you want to because of your toy soldiers. Your choice. Frozen Dog says, I think it's a yes and a no. I haven't got. Ooh, I don't know what that is referring to. Hang on. Adrian says, Liam Dempsey did some awesome dice at something like Dice Baron. They're even matte. Yeah, I need to email Dice Baron. I did see, I think he's Canadian too. So all I see on his website is D6s. I sent him a message that said, hey, can you DM me about getting custom dice done? I don't think I haven't seen the message yet. He might have sent it already. Or not, but I do want to see if Baron of Dice can do it, because I know they're Canadian, but I think they just do D6s because that's all I've seen on the website. And if there isn't, if I can do D20s, then hooray, and I will definitely use them. I haven't seen the message or haven't gotten a message back yet. Sneering Brit says, hey Ash, how's it going? It's going good. It's a very English Sunday here in Southern Ontario. It's nice and gloomy. What else we got? Underscore says pricing on the boxes are weird. I'm not sure what that's referring to. I think some merchants are selling them based on the theoretical price of the limited edition models. I'm not sure what that's referring to. Daniel Brammer says, how would you feel about doing a collab with Steve from Mini Wargaming and his channel for Fantasy, Heresy, or Moidheim? I recognize you're both very busy. I'd like to see some of the old crew. I mean, sure. Yeah, man. He knows where I am. And I know where he is. It's all just about time, I think, for both of us. Andrew Jackson says, could you showcase Infinity Defiance characters? I just got a couple, actually. I got Chingao with the HMG, and I got, what's her name? With the dual SMGs. Not Major Luna. What's her name? The double SMG Pano chick. I can't remember her name right now in my head. I do want to use some. And Christmas Fact says, don't look back at VCRs. Yeah, the VCR tape cassette like packaging is such a good touch for that game. Greg Cherry's here. He said, did you ever play Mike's Perilous Tales? I had some similarities to Don't Look Back, but was a generic rule set in any era. I sure did. You can see Agents Skelder and Mully. They are bopping around in Perilous Tales. I played a bunch of Perilous Tales during the pandemic, actually. Just Google or YouTube search Perilous Tales, and you should see a Let's Play in a bunch of different games. I did a bunch of them. Peter Simonson says, hey Ash, any plans on checking out the Weird World of 28 Mag games like Brawl Arcane, The Wield, or Lobster Pot? Sure, I'd love to. Dave Taylor actually and I have been talking recently, and he does a lot of work with them, so maybe I'll poke him about it. The other one I really like is Verwield or something like that. Verwood, something. It's like a folklore based one. It's really. I think Mike Crutchett makes it. It's really cool looking. It's just his like little setting for his sort of like 28 skill stuff. But I really like that one too. I'd love to check those out. If you have links to the game rules or like what issues of 28 Mag have the rules in them, just send them to me on Facebook Messenger, or you can email them to me too, and I'll check them out. Because I will forget 5 minutes after the show ends that all of that stuff exists. I am Yogan. Hi from Ireland, Ash. Love all the content. Have you had much opportunity to try the Rivals decks in Underworlds? I'm keen to try it again, but it's put off by needing all the warbands for the cards. Yeah, I'm really excited to try them. I haven't had a chance to. Jay's gotten really busy again. And he and I were planning on doing a whole series on this. And Mike actually, from Epic Duck, got sick. Like the two guys I was going to jump into Rivals with, both unfortunately have kids and lives and get busy. And this is the big problem with me promising anything too, is we started to work on it. We have all the painting done. Everything's ready to go. Mike has all of the OG You Can't Get Them Anymore warbands too, painted up in comic style from like the first couple seasons of Underworlds. And he wanted to play through them with the new Rivals decks to try them out, and then he wants to try and sell them because they're just taking up shelf space right now. He needs to move on to other projects, so he was going to try them out and play games with them and see how they do, just so you guys could see if those warbands were any good. But yes, so the answer is yes. Short story long, yeah, I painted a bunch of warbands. I really want to try out the new Rivals decks. Tomac Hegan says, first time catching you live. Hi from Poland. Hi. Volcano says, I'm wondering about doing an Alien Planet retro base theme for my next army. Apart from the usual blue tops, what would you suggest for earth tones and material? So I've had a lot of luck recently. If you check out my Morats for Infinity, I'm just going to talk about Infinity all day apparently again today. I tried not to. I started a podcast, so I wouldn't do this. But it's a basing thing. Actually, I'll take it away from Infinity. I did it for my squats. I did it for my Leagues of Votann army. So you take like a brown texture paint, like Sterling Battlemire, that's a nice texture to it, and instead of dry brushing it like the traditional way with like a beige or a lighter brown, I dry brush it with a different color, but the brown stays underneath. So I've been dry brushing turquoise, or dry brushing with purples, pinks, weirder sort of colors that you wouldn't expect to have over the brown, and it looks fantastic. So try that. Try dry brushing like a teal or like a turquoise, like a funky alien color, and you get this kind of cool, what's it called? Oh, what's that? The No Man's Sky kind of look to your bases, and I'm really happy with it. So give that a go, because that's my trick now. Is I use a standard basing material underneath because it kind of grounds it, and then I dry brush like a funky color as like my lighter tones out from the edges. Kevin Mitchell says, good afternoon from cold and wet London. Just got my copy of Xenos Rampant, and I'm painting up some Leagues of Votann for my first enhancement. Any chance to get a game in? There's definitely a chance. It was one of those things where like Chase just came down and played Steel Rift and Infinity with me, and he's like, the next time I come down we'll play, because the thing you guys asked about last game was Sludge. He's like, we'll play some Sludge, and maybe I'll have some OPR ready, and we'll play that. And the same goes with Jay. Jay's like, yeah, I'll try Xenos. Like, and then everybody gets busy, and it's even worse right now too, of course, because we're getting towards the holidays, which means you're trying to fit everything family related into, or holiday related into your time off, so we get less time to hang out and play games. And unfortunately, at the same time, because it's going into Christmas, a ton of releases are happening of like cool new stuff you guys want to check out. So it's the perfect storm of bad, usually for getting things finished. Brian Sheen says, I'm an OG Battletech player, and we would play by tonnage, not faction, which is a ton of fun. I see what you did there. Actually, that was recommended to me early on, was not to use battle value because it was so subjective, and that tonnage seemed a better point value system, because tonnage would allow you basically just to have the same access to upgrades, right? So if you're building out your own mechs, then tonnage was obviously balanced because you all had the same choices. And it typically was just a better reflection of the power scale of something by how much you could cram into it. Waffles and Jar says, is the GMG HQ near Toronto? It is actually just on the south side of Toronto in St. Catharines. Underscore referring to the Infinity Tournament boxes. And Uma Sorensen. Oh, there we go. Yeah, sorry. They are weirdly priced. But they're weirdly priced in North America. I don't know why they're priced. I mean, the problem is that when they price something, typically too, if the value of the dollar goes up and down, it can become wildly inaccurate all of a sudden. And so it's not anyone's fault. I'm not mad. I'm mad at myself that I didn't shop around. I just found two that were available locally and were like, yoink, I'm just going to do that, and didn't think about it, and then happened to be looking later on and being like, oh my God, I way overpaid for that. So it's my fault. It's no one else's fault. I had all the power in the world to make sure that didn't happen. I just have zero impulse control, and when I get excited about doing something, I'm like a golden retriever. Uma Sorensen, thank you for that too. Underscore. Sean Bailey says, gloomy here in southern Alberta as well, and of course windy. If you know, you know. Yeah, well, when you got no trees to block the wind, it do get windy. Sneering Brit says, Ash, if you could save Ferris, who would die instead? I don't know if I could save Ferris. And I'm assuming you're not meaning Ferris Bueller, but Ferris Manus. Because if I would just let Ferris Bueller die. Kurz. I would have Kurz change of heart, not back the baddies, go and try and save Ferris, and die killing his brother. That'd be my plot twist, because it's good theater. A plot twist is good theater. You want to have some character development, and you want to have something the audience isn't expecting. So to have Conrad Kurz know he's going to die, but the thing that he knows he's going to die doing is saving his brother and being a good guy after all. And he's just been a monster the whole time. He dies redeeming himself. That'd be my thing. Tomek Hecken says, we see more and more easy sets of rules like OPR. Do you think there's still room for heavy rules games? Of course there is. There's like a Venn diagram, I think, that people don't really self-reflect on, I think, in miniature wargaming. So if I was to pick 3 circles in miniature wargaming, I could even do a video about this maybe someday, but there's 3. There's the time to get to play, which is like the prep So how many models you have to build and paint, how big is a table, how much scenery do you need, how easy and accessible is it to get. Like that's your like the work to get to the fun. Then there's the work to process the game. That's the mental load, like reading the rule book, like absorbing how to make an army list, the planning. So like physical work, mental work, and then there's the actual application of the game. So the processes you go through to play the game. And those three Venn diagrams, if they're balanced, I think, or if one gets too heavy, the others have to become lighter to absorb it. So I think Infinity is a good example. Let's just talk about Infinity some more, Ash, of a game where the balance has gotten better. It used to be that, so Infinity has fairly like heavy weighted amount of rules to absorb, but you only need like 10 models to play it typically. You can get to 15. I mean, more of corner cases. Let's not argue about that, but 10 to 15 miniatures is not a big ask in a miniature war game. It's not that expensive dollar-wise. It's not even that long to build and paint, or even just to build and put on the table. And then the big ask actually became the terrain, because it did require you to have a ton of terrain relative to other miniature war games. And so the company did a bunch of stuff to try and make that objection go away by making incredible cardstock terrain, giving terrain out in every box you bought for the most part, and remove that obstacle. Even the packaging the miniatures came in became a terrain component. So all the original buildings before they were hard cardboard were soft cardboard because they couldn't afford to make them hard card at the time. And the boxes you bought your Infinity miniatures in were the thing that stiffened up the box. So you put them inside this wrap, and it was kind of like a box wrap or like an exterior shell for the boxes your miniatures came in. They did everything they could to remove that obstacle, and they did a really good job of doing it. So that part stayed light and balanced, and it meant that because you had less time being used to absorb getting ready to play physically, and also they made an incredible app for creating your armies. You didn't have to like look at army lists and hit a calculator. You just clicked names, and it built an army for you and did all the math. You could absorb a big, thick rule set. So it's in really good balance. It's really easy to pick up and play Infinity. Dan's going through it right now, and he's a veteran wargamer, right? So like he's played a lot of war games in his time. So he's absorbing it quickly, but he's absorbing it extra quick compared to, I think, some games he's probably played, because all the information he could possibly want's all in front of him in an easily digestible way, and there isn't like a big work ask to get to play the game all of a sudden. Now let's take 40K. And this isn't to bag on 40K. 40K is a time-honored, glorious space opera tradition of a game. But, and the but is, it's a big ask to play 40K now, right? Like, a battle force for 40K as a combat patrol is like 500 points. That's a quarter of the size of your army, and financially and just time building and painting, this is a big ask. It takes a while to build and paint 25, 30 miniatures when that's a quarter of your army, right? And if you're talking about adding big miniatures too, they take just like painting one big, huge tank or knight takes as long as painting like 20 to 30 little guys, and just as long to assemble as 20 to 30 guys. 20 to 30 guys have probably as many components as one huge knight titan. So it kind of tricks you into feeling like I only painted one miniature. Well, actually, you painted like 30 miniatures worth of like components and cleaning and assembling and just like brush strokes. So there's a big investment in time there. There's also a huge amount of rules, and there's some kind of convenient ways to build an army, but it's not free. It's not just like a web browser thing. Like, it's like an app you have to put on your phone. You have to unlock all the armies to make sure they're current. You have to pay extra money for that stuff too. So each of those processes of like prepping to play, learning the rules, and like the prep stuff, and then even just like the processes, the number of processes in playing the game are very heavy. And so because none of those three elements are particularly light, it all feels heavy, if that makes sense. I think as hobbyists, we can kind of endure one aspect of a thing being intense if the other two aspects are relatively easy, and they let us get to doing that intense thing more often. Whereas if they're all intense, right, it's like climbing a mountain that never goes down. If every now and again the mountain goes like this and goes down, you can walk downhill for a while and you can rest up, and then you can go back up the mountain. So I hope that made sense. That was a long metaphor. I could have probably just used that metaphor to explain the answer to that question. But I feel like that's my answer to that. Is I think that all games can have that element if you want. And some games you want them all to be light too. But like OPR isn't light it's lighter in the rules section, but it's just as heavy in the army construction section, because like a 2,000 point OPR army could be just as big as a 40k or fantasy army, right? So like it doesn't lighten that amount of work. There's still lots of work to do in the prep to play the game and put it on the table and have it all built and painted part. It's just that the processes and the army list construction part are light, comparatively speaking, to the other offerings out there. Nick Denny says, well, he's like an hour and a half from TO. I'm not an hour and a half from TO. I can drive to Toronto in 40 minutes. Get out of here, Nick. Jeez. How do you, an hour and a half? You're in like Mississauga, man. You're like southern TO anyway. Hour and a half from TO, Nick. Jeez. Put your foot down, man. Kyle says, any chance you would do a video on what it's like to make an Osprey Blue Book game? What it's like to work with them? What did they ask of you, etc., etc.? I've done some of those before, actually, in the Let's Talk Game Design. So check those videos out, because I've talked about that stuff before. Todd Roberta says, really enjoying your recent middle of the strategy battle games videos. I hope to see more games. But me too. I hope that, like, I want some people to come in and play it, because I want to play it more and I want to round out my armies. Nick says, hey, this Infinity game sounds kind of fun. Maybe we should play sometime. I mean, definitely yes. Nick, you want to play everything. That's what I like about you. But you and I have a list of like 17 games we still haven't gotten to, so just text me and we'll play something. Tomek says, I saw a lot of comments disagreeing with you under GW Stop Saying Sorry. Most of the time you had positive feedback. Did you change your mind a little bit because of that about trying to balance the game? No, I didn't change my mind. No. People that disagree with me, I didn't change my mind. I don't think... I think that a lot of people that disagree with me heard me say game companies shouldn't balance their games. I never said that. I think game companies should absolutely balance their games in a way that's like appropriate and thoughtful and has some real like legs behind how they do it. I think issuing a massive rebalance and an apology to a book that hadn't come out yet based on a leaked copy that people had playtested on Tabletop Simulator was a stupid marketing idea. And the people shouldn't do that. That's a bad company decision. Like, it's not a smart... You're giving too much power to your customers at that point. And you're also setting a precedent that they can do this again, which means more people are going to try and find book leaks. More people are going to try and influence the design studio in the company to try and do it because it's worked now. So there's the idea out there that you can basically blackmail a company into doing something like this. It was a bad idea then, it's a bad idea now. I don't change my mind about it. I mean, does it suck that people disagree with you? Sure, if you think that that's an indictment on your character. I think people are allowed to disagree with me. And I understand why most of them disagree with me too. I think in a lot of cases those disagreements came from not really hearing what I was saying, because most people on like that 14 or 15 minute, I don't know how long it was, like maybe a 15-minute video, they watched 3.5 minutes and they responded to the first thing they heard they disagreed with, right? That typically happens on YouTube. So I think if they'd absorbed the whole thing maybe and not just clicked away after they'd responded, then maybe they would change their minds too. Because I don't think it's about not balancing your games. You should absolutely balance your games. You should absolutely balance negative play experiences, but you also shouldn't be blackmailed by your customers, because it's just going to keep happening. It's going to cause them more problems. And I don't think that their business is based on whether or not their rules are balanced. I think their business is based on a big picture of stuff, like with all game companies. And I think they should keep their eye on that. Sai says, when you post the pictures for painting the new Osgiliath runes, could you include some pictures of the old runes for comparison? I haven't been able to find any pictures of the online of the sets together. Old ruins. Were there old Osgiliath ruins? I don't think I've seen them. I don't have any, so I can't. I could post up the ruins from the Fellowship of the Ring. Those are the ones I have, like the little teeny ones. I have those ones. I don't have any other ones. I'm sorry. I wish I could. Cal Vanoni says, there's the color shifting craft paints that do cool effects over white. Yeah, those are cool. Andrew Jackson says, any Marvel Crisis Protocol games upcoming? Yeah, tomorrow. Caldorf says, have you had any time to check out the new revision of Car Wars? No. Also, how is the new tag for Ariadne? It's a very cool miniature. I haven't seen the new Car Wars now. The new 6th edition of Car Wars told Gaslands to hold their beer. Really impressed with the new edition. Cool. That's cool to hear. That's a resounding endorsement from Greg. Oh, I've lost the chat again. It scrolls too fast sometimes. Caldor says save Angron and then Yerrick will live too. That'd be cool. Will Hung and Dung says, I got back into Wargaming via the skirmish small battle level Osprey Blue Book games. Absolutely. I think it's funny because it's like, I think that it's a mistake to feel like war games are one size fits all. Just like everything else, they're all tailored experiences. They all meet a need in somebody, right? And I think that need can sometimes you can express your not understanding what your needs from a war game are by saying this is a bad game. It's definitely a good game for somebody. Every game out there that sells a bunch of copies and has a bunch of models is popular with somebody because it meets needs for some people. I think one of the big strengths Games Workshop games have is it's easy to find opponents, and when you get opponents, it's easy to feel like you're progressing and having a good game or achieving something, because the more people are collectively doing something together, it feels more important and it feels more significant. And especially when you're newer to wargaming or you're younger, that can be really valuable. So just the force multiplier of having a big audience and a big fan base actually gets you a bunch of like traction business-wise. Whereas when that's less important to you and the experience needs to be a little more self-contained, playing lots of little games, which is where my personal hobby is, often feels more satisfying. I really like being able to paint 10 to 15 models and go out and have a positive game experience with those 10 to 15 models. I want to invest a certain amount of time and get a certain amount of reward from it. And that's why certain games really tickle my fancy. Like I really liked Alpha Strike. I like painting little robots. I really liked Crisis Protocol, because painting like 10 comic book characters is fun. And the game's fun. And like the table's relatively small. You don't need that much terrain. So like I think your personal process to enjoyment dictates how much fun you get back from a certain game. Let's go back. Inquisitor Savak says, is this why 40k is having issues? Same as what happened to Fantasy, where to get into the game you need so much. So I don't think again, there's a bit of hang time to that, right? I don't think that's what's causing 40k any issue. I don't think 40k is even having issues if you talk about in the grand scheme of thing. I think 40k, every time it resets edition-wise, it paves over those issues. I think those issues start to come about at the beginning of like that transition period between like a 9th and a 10th edition or a 7th and an 8th edition. Because at 7th edition, at the end of 7th edition of 40k, the game was completely bloated with like data slates and campaign books and supplements, and like there'd been this weird like back-to-back starter set thing where they did like a 6 and a 7 edition of 40k like 2 years apart almost with the same starter set. It was super weird. And it was just to ratify like having super heavies in the game basically. But then 8th edition comes out and it's a brand new game. It chucks the whole rule set out the window. All the stat lines go away. Index books come out. And it was like everybody came back to 40k. Everyone that had been kind of pushed out was like, well, I still have my miniatures. I'm going to go give this a try. And it was, people already remember like the 8th edition launch as this like golden era of 40k, which is weird because it doesn't feel that long ago to me. But it feels long ago to me as like 3rd edition 40k and how that was a golden era of 40k compared to 2nd edition of 40k, which was a golden era compared to Rogue Trader 40k. Like it's, I think Games Workshops, because they have like a planned life cycle for their games, they don't really have to worry about that. But I do think that, yes, that all three of those elements becoming weighted and more weighted is what leads to the need for them to do that, for that life cycle to be like 3 to 4 years, and for them to basically blow up the game and start from scratch and everybody start over. Well, Hungadunga says 40k needs some sort of alternate action system. That can work. What I think you're kind of extroverting there is that it needs something to keep the opposing player engaged during the active player's turn, and that's an alternate activation system is great for that because it means that you're never waiting too long to be able to have an impact on outcome on the game. They kind of tried to do that in 8th and 9th with like the CPs and the stratagems and stuff like that, but it's kind of just surface level. The biggest thing that 40k has that makes you feel active during your opponent's turn is that you make the armor saves, but there's literally no reason for you to make the armor saves. You're just rolling dice. Anybody could roll his dice and it'd be the same outcome, right? It doesn't really matter who makes the saves. Yeah, anyway. Proven says, I always wanted to play the Nuns with Guns, but it's like $1,500 in investment and paint time. Yeah, it's a lot. Building a full tournament legal size. That's why I wanted to play Incursion so much at 40K. I feel like Incursion was the right level to me. I just wish there was more emphasis on it. Because I feel like that's a good game size where it's not 1,500 points to play a game of 40K. Inquisitor Savak says, War Machine had mental load issues, although if you want lots of models, it was a long, rough game. True. Caldorf says, I'm living at base camp on the side of Mountain Games Workshop. I keep staring at the mountain, climb a little, and then run back to base camp for some oxygen. Yeah. I think it comes down to what you want to play. So at Games Workshop games, I mean, if you play Kill Team, it's a complete game in a box, and the investment in time and prep to play and the satisfaction each game is just as high as a game of 40K to me. I would just play Kill. If I was coming to it from like brand new, I've never played a war game before, I would just look at Kill Team and be like, oh, I can just play with 10 models on the side and play this and play a war game. I'll play that. I'll play on my kitchen table. I don't need like a dedicated space. All the terrain comes in the box. All the dice come in the box. Like, it passes the Christmas morning test. And then every time you want to add a new army to Kill Team, you buy one box typically, and you're good. I go buy a box of Pathfinders. I'm good. I go buy a box of Custodes. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take a lot to add your next thing. And then Long Index says, so you're saying playing 40K is some sort of Sisyphean feat? Yes, that's literally what I was saying. And then, doesn't everyone want to play everything? True. Inquisitor's Fact says, never say we're sorry for making cool minis. Yeah. Games are fun. You got some time coming up. I'll hit you up. Sweet. Nick's going to text me and we'll play some games. I'm excited. He may have done so already, actually. My phone's plugged in across there. Oh my god, we've almost gone for an hour. This is crazy. I haven't gotten to like the whole chat yet. Waffles Enjoyer says, any thoughts on Star Wars Shatterpoint? I talked about it a bit last time. I'm excited. I think the reason that Legion and I was really excited at the beginning, but I struggled to like stay current with it, was it changed a lot. It required lots of resources like cards, and those cards weren't legal, and the points values on those cards weren't legal. I got frustrated with the like evolution of the game really fast. And yes, I know there's apps and web apps and tons of ways I can avoid it and stuff like that, but like, should I? Like, that's adding more steps of work, or having to go find things, or having to get outside the game resources to then fix the resources I've gotten in the box. I'm not patient enough for that. Like, unless I'm really committed to a game, I don't have the patience for that. I want to paint my toy soldiers and play with them. And I like having everything in one book. And it's very reliant on like cards. Like, there's no reason for that much cardboard. Just make me a proper rulebook, a proper hardcover Star Wars Legion rulebook that has all the upgrades in them. Done. Right? Done. That's it. We got all the upgrades in them. Just give me pages and pages of upgrades, and then an army page for the specific ones for certain factions. Like, you could just do that, and you wouldn't have to print all this cardboard, and you could just print a new book instead, and it's all in one place. So I'm excited about Shatterpoint. I like the idea of like a skirmish level game because I like Star Wars. So I do like Star Wars. I just want to have like a digestible Star Wars experience. King 4000 says, I just ordered a 2-player Star Wars set for Conquest. We talked about that last week, actually. My son was excited by the story of the 100 Kingdoms. I'm worried that it might be a dying game, though. I don't think it's dying, man. They managed to survive the pandemic. They launched pre-pandemic, and they're still here. So I think they're just fine. I'm seeing it show up in game stores. I think they just had... So the momentum of their launch got, like, hammered down by the pandemic. But they seem to have consistent releases. They have consistent, like, stuff coming out. So, and like lots of communication, and they've done a skirmish game, which I'd probably be more interested in, is the one where it's like just individually based models. So yeah, I don't think they're dying. I think they lost all their momentum of the excitement of a new game when they couldn't ship anything anywhere all of a sudden, and no one can get together to play. So I'd be patient with them. Hopefully they can rally and just continue to slow grow. I mean, lots of companies do it. I think that not trying to be too aggressive and just being sort of plodding is probably paying off for them. Inquisitor Savak says, I love Alpha Strike, but sometimes I just want to play old Battletech or Starfleet battles. For sure. Absolutely. I think, like, those, like, old Battletech games where you're playing on a game mat and it can be on your kitchen table, they're a great, like, beer with a buddy game. Where you're sitting, you're talking, nothing needs to happen too fast, the game's going to last all day, you're shooting the shit, and then you're also, like, taking your turns. Kind of like playing chess, you know what I mean? Like, it's a more thoughtful, slowed down game. And because you're only playing with like 2 or 3 models, you don't have to like put a bunch of time into prep into play. You can play on the battle mat, so there's no like terrain to bring in. It all has its place, right? And it's what are you looking for from the experience, I think, that dictates how that goes. Topher says, I'm looking forward to Age of Fantasy Quest. That'd be fun. Night Warden Gaming says, I finally made it live. Yes, you did. Keep up with all the great stuff. Thank you. Gary Arkham's here. He says, my problem with smaller miniature games, which I play a ton of, is they normally not only need 10 to 12 models, but also theme tables, DM-like work-building narratives. Yes. And so I think the problem with that, Gary, and I have the same problem, so I'm going to commiserate with you here, is whenever I do anything like that and I get to be my own boss a little bit in the game and be like, I can make this, and I can make this cool terrain, is it like just completely pulls the handbrake on my own energy, and I'm allowed to dive around down rabbit holes and make theme terrain and stuff like that. Nothing said we had to do that, but our like creative instincts drive us towards it because you want it to be just right. You want it to be like super cool and just right, and so you end up making like a million little scenes. I know it's a problem every dungeon master has that uses miniatures, right, as opposed to Theater of the Mind. The Theater of the Mind dungeon master doesn't have that problem, but those of us who like to make, sadly, we will dive into. Given the opportunity to chase a rabbit down a hole, I will do so, and so will you. So I don't think that's the game's fault. I think that's more my creative energy and my inability to say no to myself. Tomek Haken says, have you ever played Chronopia? Sure have. Great game. And Chase actually found a bunch of it and wanted to play it. So it's on the list of things that Chase and I need to do at some point. Duck Catface. Not going to lie, this edition's been the worst for me as a hobby since I started in 4th. That's too bad. It's bad to hear. Mantic Firefighters Alternating Games. Yeah, it is. It's a good skirmish sci-fi set. John Ashley Smith's back. Good day from up the QEW. Joining in after the Tabletop Minions EOSS. CB says, enjoying the one-page rules videos. Hoping to get a community going at a local club. Been helpful to see seeing the game play out. Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Keldorf says, your time to fun rationale hits home. Yeah, I mean, and that might just be like, I think a lot of that is something that when you hit like your 30s, your late 30s, early 40s, I'm in my early 40s, you realize time becomes the thing that's on your mind a lot, right? And you're better able to parse that, where like when you're younger and time seems to stretch into forever, your time isn't as valuable to you as it used to be. But I have kids and I have things I want to do outside my hobby and outside my job, and that means that I'm super aware of how much time and effort I'm putting into something versus how I feel at the outcome, right? So I love playing these like little 1,000-point 40K games, and the amount of time I spend playing them feels commensurate to the amount of time I put into them, and that's good for me, right? Whereas like I don't have any desire to play like a tournament style 40K game. They just seem to drag on forever, and I can't get into it. I don't want to spend 3 hours playing a game of anything. Like 3 hours playing a game just seems miserable. I'll have like a headache at the end of it all. I'll be ready to quit. So Well Hung and Dung says, so we have normal 40K and now indoor 40K coming. We have outdoor kill team and indoor kill team. We have indoor and outdoor Necromunda. Seems like it'd just be solved by just having skirmish rolls. Yeah, probably, yeah. Actually, I'll be honest. I think kill team handles it the best. I would actually argue that kill team handles it better than 40K, right? So like indoor and outdoor, I think you're referring to like the spaceship games. Because kill team came pre-built with like a kill zone, right? So when the kill team box came with a certain set of terrain, you got kill zone rules in that book for that specific kill zone. And that's a great way of handling it, because then the table itself is a character, right? And if you look at it that way, where I just have this specific terrain in a box, I've actually really enjoyed making these little tables worth of terrain that are like a collection, having it in a separate box with the kill zone rules and being like, there's my kill zone, right? I can use any of my kill teams in it, and it's a self-contained like little environment. So I have like one little Walmart container with that terrain in it and all the rules and whatever you need to play. So I feel like that actually is handled really well, whereas 40K is more like, if you own one of these 7 million pieces of terrain in this style, in this mix, in this place, it's another way of playing regular 40K, because 40K never really changes around the environment as much. I mean, it might for the new one, for the Arx Element thing. Who knows? I'm not sure. But yes, I think Kill Team handles it really well, because you don't have to use any of those kill zones, and they're all just optional. Very Silent Mouth says, hello from Perth, Australia. And Doc Fat Cafe says, it reminds me of City Fight. Yeah, a little bit. It was a divisive supplement. You're right. Tomac Hacken says, thank you for the whole great content. Keep a great job. Thank you for checking it out. Oh, Josh says EOOS every other Sunday show. I thought it was some type of like performance or something. Dice Entertainment. Hi Ash, happy 1 Advent. Have you first Advent? Thank you. Have you played Disturbing Wars 3rd Edition yet? No, but lots of people are asking me about it actually, and I would absolutely play it if I got my hands on it. It's just not available locally here. King 4000 says my group plays Blood Bowl, but some of the guys play slow. 2 to 3 hours games are the norm. Yeah, that's why I like sevens. Mike and I really like sevens because you can play Blood Bowl in 40 minutes, which I think is great, and then you can just play another game. Oh my god, we're 5 minutes over. We're at over an hour now. So I'll take a couple more questions, then we're going to sign off because I've been going for a while. Waffles Enjoyer says, I really wonder what's going to be in all the narrative 40k books they're going to be releasing. They said there's no match play rules in them. I mean, probably more Crusade stuff, right? Crusade rules, lots of events, lots of agendas to play through for the Crusade stuff, lots of relics, lots of specific terrain rules maybe for playing Crusade in. I'd be really down for that. I love playing Crusade. I think Crusade is great. I think that the build a little collection modeler in me loves building a little 25 power group of cool looking models that fit together all to a certain theme. And if I had more opportunity to do that and more pre-generated content for me to work my way through story-wise to do that with, I think that'd be fun. And I'd be up for more of that. John Landry says, I've had the Battletech Box of Armor combat set for a while just because I want to paint the minis. I found your streamlined videos for Alpha Strike and helped me to play through with my daughter. That's awesome. That's awesome. You loved it. I'm super excited. Yeah, painting 6mm stuff is super fun. It's relaxing too. I love painting little robots. Andreas Kentorp says, which GW Specialist game is the best in your opinion? Most fun or just plain best? So by Specialist, I imagine that today you mean all the Forge World Run games and that you meant the stuff that was under that Specialist umbrella back in the day. Is the best in my opinion, which most fun and just plain best? It's hard because they all provide really different experiences. I think the one I like the most, probably from the current generation, is Titanicus. I like the way Titanicus plays out right now. I think it's in a good spot. It's fairly balanced. It has really neat miniatures. You don't need a lot of miniatures to play the game. But it has all the drawbacks of you need specific terrain, specific table, and stuff like that too if you want to really get into it. Classic games, probably Blood Bowl. It's a beautiful game. It's super well designed. It's aged super well. I mean, it's a classic, and you can play campaign-wise, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. So those would be my two picks. Richard Wong says, I love the kill zones for Kill Team. Great use of the terrain for small games. Absolutely. And it's it's not a huge table to fill up either, right? So you can actually spend your time painting the lights and painting the little signs and painting the terrain like it's a miniature, not like it's just this thing you have to finish so your army has something to stand next to. Tyler says, I agree, 2,001 games is an ideal size for 40k, probably 1,250 to 1,500, probably, yeah. And then John Ashley Smith says, I love painting epic models, paint small and game big. Yes, I mean, that was the solution originally to play big games of 40k. You shrank the models, you didn't make the table bigger. I think that worked really well. All right, so there we go. We're at 70 minutes in, so we did it. We got another one of these Saturday morning on the Sunday shows finished. I'll get this right someday, maybe. I mean, probably not. It's me. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend and that you get to tune in tomorrow and listen to Tactical Awareness. If you're an Infinity fan, check it out. We are over half registered now for the tournament for January, the party I'm throwing for Infinity, which I'm super excited about. The venue's super cool. I'm gonna have I'm gonna have a lot of more fun probably fixating on it and getting ready for it and trying to make sure everybody has a really good time. So I think there's 9 spots left. So if you haven't pre-registered, paid, and grabbed your confirmation on the OTM for Infinity, go do so I know how many spots to prep. And if we do get extras, I'll see what I can do getting more terrain, because I know people can bring terrain too, but I can comfortably do 10 tables of Infinity terrain from my time warcroring before. And I didn't want anyone else to have to do any work. I don't want any other workers or people that organize Infinity stuff to come down and not have to do anything but just hang out and play. I want it to just be a relaxing thing. But obviously, if more people register, then I will find a way to accommodate more people. I'm sure we can do that. And that's it. So yeah, so get excited. I hope you enjoy the podcast. I hope you guys all have a great week next week, and I will see you next Sunday for a Saturday morning chat show maybe. Until then, I'm Ash. Have a great